ちの歌消えない心の傷メシアを求め続けたあの日の夜
Welcome back, y'all. This is Anime Degens, episode 77. Me and Nom's gonna be here with you talking about Suicide Squad Isekai first look. Dan's not with us today as well. He's, like I said, he's on a work trip. He might be with us next week. I think that'll be the last week. If he's able to join us, it'll be the last week for him for like a month, I believe. So it's just gonna be me and Nom for a while. We might be able to get some guests on, too. So that should be a fun time if we can do that. But other than that, that's what we got today. Nom, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing wonderful as always. I actually mistake today as Wednesday. I thought the week was halfway over, and it is not. But it doesn't matter because I'm off tomorrow, so it kind of is over somewhat. So
So wait, hang on. You got the halfway of your week mixed up, but you're off halfway through the week.
yeah,
So you were at work thinking it was Wednesday,
yeah.
but you were off Wednesday?
Well, they rotate, Nom. Like I don't work the same days every week. It flip flops,
Okay.
So
Okay, I got you.
I just knew that tomorrow was off.
Well, hey, at least you'll get your Wednesday off.
Hell yeah. Before we get started on the news, we always want to say the best way to support us is make sure you rate our podcast and tell your friends about us. You can rate us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. That's where we release our DGen videos as well. Spotify has video feature now as well. So linktree.com/anime degens to see all of our social media and all that good stuff. Also, we are doing watch parties every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. EST Eastern Time. So we're doing a new show pretty much every week that we vote on in the Discord. So make sure y'all join and get in on that. It's pretty fun. It's been a fun time. So we just watched Undead Girl Murder Farce this last Sunday. So but yeah, that's about all I got. Linktree.com/anime degens. And now we're gonna get into some news. You want to get us started on that, Nom?
Absolutely. First bit of news, we got Solo Leveling Ragnarok is actually coming out August 1st. So if you guys had finished the first one, and you're curious about what happens, check it out.
Yeah, is that the manhwa?
Yes.
A continuation, like the next arc or something?
It is a sequel written by
Okay.
the original author of the first one. So,
Okay.
yep.
I gotcha. Well, the next thing we got is Ranma 1/2. We said that it was getting a anime remake on one of our previous episodes, I believe. But apparently it's coming this October, which is really surprising. I didn't think it was going to be that fast. And it's going to be done by MAPPA, which is surprising too, because you would think that they'd have their hands full. So
Yeah.
at least it's going to look good, though. Maybe, hopefully.
No, it should look really good. But I mean, yeah, balancing between everything, Chainsaw Man, Hell's Paradise, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, Attack on Titan's done. Maybe that's what freed him up.
I guess. I mean, they doing a lot of shit, bro. And like I said, this I was expecting this to be like next year type shit, and it's been announced for October, which is really fast in my opinion. So they need to. I think they need to slow down a little bit because they're already having trouble keeping up as it is, and now they're just like it seems like they're going too fast again, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it's gonna get even more unfortunate because with this next bit of news,
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen calling game arc is actually confirmed to be in production right now. And yeah, Mappa is working on that, but they have not actually given us a official time frame yet.
I'm just happy that Mappa is actually working on this right now before it releases. That way, maybe hopefully by the time it does release, you know, I would assume next year, um, that we won't be having those unfinished scenes like we did in, you know, season 2. They always was saying that, you know, it was like 70-80% of finished or whatever, you know, and then
Hmm.
they went ahead and they released the Blu-ray after with the finished cuts or whatever, which is kind of, you know, cheap in my opinion. Like you
One hundred
need to
percent.
give us a finished product without a paywall, you know. I thought that was pretty stupid. But I mean, it gets some
Absolutely.
money, you know what I mean, I guess. So, um speaking of the next thing, speaking of cheap, you know, Rent a Girlfriend season 4 is officially confirmed for 2025. Um, yeah, I'm still watching this. For some reason, I'm not sure why. It's like that dumpster fire that, you know, you just can't look away from. And I guess I'm pretty excited for season 4 to come out next year. It may or may not be my last season of Rent a Girlfriend. Depends on how it goes, but I'm still excited for it. See what kind of trouble Kazi Haya is gonna get into. So
In other words, we also have a new anime, Sanda, that has officially been announced. It is being produced by Science Saru. Um, I just took a look at actually a lot of their work, and it is quite interesting and varying. So I'm actually quite excited to see it. The premise is the story follows a boy named Sanda in a future with a declining health rate as he discovers his classmate plans to kill him due to a curse he carries. So definitely going to be very interesting to see that.
yeah, the thing that stands out to me on this one is you literally see this see the cover for this, and it looks like a bad Santa Claus, and the name is Sanda or Sanda, whatever you want to say, but it says that this dude is like a middle school student, but he looks like he's got like a full Santa Claus beard. Um, he looks like he's like 50 years. He looks like he's a badass 50-year-old Santa, honestly.
Yeah,
So
just war grizzled, looks been through like so much war. He's got like this torn cape flying in the background.
yeah,
Whatever it is though, it's going to be awesome.
it looks
I can already tell.
badass, honestly. Um, I just, I really wish I knew if that was actually him or if it's like somebody else in the manga or the anime, whatever. But I'm definitely interested in this. I can't wait for it to come out because you know, it definitely looks fun. So,
Yep.
the next bit of news we got is Bleach Thousand Year Blood War Part 3 is coming in October. We we figured it was coming sometime soon, later this year or whatever, but it's been officially announced for October. This probably is gonna be. It might be the final part. I don't know. If it ain't the final part, we only got one more. Like we're really close to being done with Bleach Thousand Year Blood War. So pretty excited for that.
Let's hope that they just don't pull an Attack on Titan.
I don't think
Fi-
so.
Final
So
scene, final scene, final scene, the final scene.
yeah, I don't think so. I think
um,
we're pretty close. So
Awesome. Last bit of news. This one is not coming quite so soon. Fire Force Season 3. It has actually been announced as a split core. The first part coming April 2025. The second part coming January 2026.
yeah,
So that is quite a gap. But
yeah.
I imagine I imagine that they're going to be cooking in that time, so, we'll let them cook, as they say.
Yeah, at least they give us a date now because it was rumored to be like January of this year, like 7 months ago. It was rumored to be coming out then. And so now we actually got dates. So, and it's not just rumors, it's official. So, a lot
Yeah,
of people's going to be
that's
happy about that.
that's awesome to hear.
But that is all the news we got. Uh, Now we get to move on to our main topic, what y'all been waiting for. Suicide Squad Isekai. We're gonna do a first look of this. We're gonna be talking about the things that happen up to episode 5. This is gonna have spoilers in it up to episode 5. So if you haven't seen it yet, just come back once you watch it or whatever. Or even if you've seen like the Suicide Squad movies and stuff, I feel like it's kind of you kind of know what somewhat happens,
No,
in a
no, no,
way.
no. No, no. I'm gonna interject on that one real quick.
The premise, anyways, like you know what Suicide Squad is about. So
You'll know some of the characters, yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's about the extent of that.
yeah. So still go watch it, unless you don't care for spoilers. But this is on Max and Hulu. It's in the Hulu jail and a Max jail, whatever. It is scheduled to be 10 episodes, which is kind of short. It's done by Wit Studio, and I think WB Japan is helping them work on it as well. It's rated R, and it is right now sitting on Mal at around a 7. So, at least people are thinking that it's kind of okay, for it to have almost a 7. Real quick before we get started on our little first look, I'm gonna read a summary. And in the crime-ridden Gotham City, Amanda Waller, the head of Argus, has assembled a group of notorious criminals for a mission. Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Peacemaker, Clayface, and King Shark. These DC supervillains are sent into an otherworldly realm that's connected to this world through a gate. It's a world of swords and magic where orcs rampage and dragons rule the skies in Isekai. And I cut like 2 to 3 paragraphs off of the summary, the official summary, that just kept on reinforcing that it was an Isekai in capital letters. I didn't feel like we needed that. I felt like this done a pretty good job summarizing kind of what's going on. Like I said, if you've seen Suicide Squad, you kind of know what premise this is going to be. Is these Suicide Squad characters, trying to earn their freedom or whatever, basically. So just in a different way. But as I mentioned, spoilers up to episode 5. But now we're gonna get started on it because we was pretty interested in this because it is Suicide Squad. It's one of the popular, DC uh Marvel style, movies. Um so we definitely had to check it out because it came over to our world, the anime world, and Isekai at that. And so we wanted to see just how DC meshed with it, how they did it. So I want to start out by asking, like, are you a DC or Marvel fan, Nom?
Um
Or tell us how big of a
for
fan you are. I
for
bet
for the
I think
sake
that's
for the sake of not upsetting any fans, I am a comic book hero fan, I would
is,
say. Which
is
would
that kind of like a
include
Guitar Hero fan?
yeah. Um no, it's the whole fan base between Marvel and DC is very delicate. So um you definitely want to tread lightly when dealing with that fan base. But like I said, I'm a comic book hero fan. So I did enjoy the Suicide Squad movies. I've watched both of them. I have known about them from before those times, so it's not uncommon knowledge for me. but I would say that ultimately I was a fan. Yeah,
Okay.
I was a fan.
So I am a
Go.
casual
Go for
fan, I guess. I wouldn't
it. Okay.
say like I'm a super fan. Um, but like I don't know how to put this. Like it's I've watched a lot of the movies. I'm kind of like adding Marvel and DC into one, even though I know it's not the same, but it's kind of the same, right? It's different
No.
universes, but it is the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? Uh, if you like one, you're probably gonna like the other, basically. And I've watched like a lot of. I think I've watched more Marvel movies and like series than I have DC. Um, but I have watched my fair share of DC stuff too. It's just I think Marvel has been more of my watching experience in my life or whatever. But I have seen both Suicide Squads. Like I'm kind of familiar with like Harley Quinn and the Joker and stuff like that. I'm not too familiar with like Peacemaker, Clayface, King Shot, King Shark, and Deadshot, other than watching the Suicide Squad movies, you know. So
Yeah,
hopefully that's where Nom comes in because he is more of a fan than I am, I guess you can say. I'm more of like that casual fan. So, but
I got you.
now
Don't
that
worry. I'll back you up.
yeah, so now that we got that out of the way, as a pretty good fan of like the comics or whatever, what was you expecting going into this isekai anime version of Suicide Squad?
I expected it to go off the rails the instant that the show started, that it was going to be absolute dog. We weren't even going to bother continuing to watch it because it was just going to be horrible, and that they were going to try way too hard.
I
I had such low expectations.
I kind of thought the same way because not because like it's DC trying to do DC things or whatever, right? But because of the summary. Like if you read the legit like the summary that's on the official side, the Suicide Squad Isekai website, like literally they have Isekai. They're just like reinforcing Isekai like every couple of sentences in capital letters. Like they want you to know that this is an Isekai. And I'm like, man, they're really gonna like uh go far, you know, out in the far outfield, you know, trying to show us that this is an isekai. And I felt like that was going to be a bad call, you know. Um so yeah, I pretty much had the same expectations, pretty low for me too. I'm kind of glad that it didn't. I think it exceeded mine. It exceeded mine pretty well. What about you?
Well, if I would say it exceeded it, because again, I did have some pretty low expectations going into it, but it was enjoyable. It was fun.
Okay,
It was
yeah,
fun and enjoyable, is how I put it.
yeah, okay. So, does this fit? Does this fit in the DC world? Do you think at all?
No, I really don't. So I will say though, I think DC can fit into anime.
Okay. Have you seen the Batman animes? I heard they was trash, but I was just wondering if you like seen or heard about them.
I haven't heard about any of the animes. I know about like
Okay.
the cartoons and the animated series that they have put out,
Yeah,
but those
apparently
are
they
more
made
like
like a Batman anime, and there's like a second part of it or something coming soon or something. So I just didn't know if you heard about that or not or seen it.
I have not, but you know what? It doesn't surprise me that it's something that has been tried. I think that ultimately they were going for a more mainstream approach, I think, with this one. Because one thing that I did appreciate, and like I said, I think DC fits into this world very well, is a lot of the characters. They kept them. I felt very, very well on to how the characters are actually portrayed.
Okay.
Um, like Waller's just a bitch. I
For
just
Nor
want to get that. I just want to get that out of the way. She's a fucking bitch. Nobody likes her. She is all about business, right? If it's not about the task at hand, she doesn't give a fuck. Get it out of her way.
Yeah.
But
I think they've done a good job representing her. There was this one scene where like the something thing started like flying at them or whatever, and it killed like several members of the tech team or whatever support team around her. I don't know what you call them, but she
yep, and
didn't
she's just
move. Yeah,
yep,
and she
stone faced.
yeah, she just stood there with her arms crossed and just, they was like going crazy. She's like, no, keep on doing it, blah, blah. And like just stood there. And I'm like, yep, I don't know Waller that much, but I know that is her.
Yep. Nope. And that's exactly it. But then they also did a really good job too with like even Peacemaker and stuff like that. Clayface. I felt like they did a pretty good job. I don't know too much about Clayface, but I felt as far as like a character like his goes, that was he was a pretty eccentric character and stuff like that. He definitely had nefarious means to him. Deadshot was pretty spot on too. So I mean, like they did a really good job with the representation.
Yeah. I I really do think that they did as well. It definitely felt like these was the characters that we know, you know what I mean? They
Oh
didn't really
yeah.
like deviate from the base characters that we know and love or whatever. So, or hate, however you view these characters. So, um I want to get into the actual like anime and what happens or kind of like how it starts out, you know. So the first
Yeah.
episode, um did it pull us in? Like did it succeed in making us interested, or did it take us a few episodes to really get the urge to want to watch more?
Yeah, so I felt like they did a really good job in that first episode. Um they didn't even like and I'm glad that they released 3 episodes for this reason. It didn't take me those 3 episodes to want to continue on. The first episode was a just a romp all around, right? Like it
Yeah.
was Harley and Joker, they were going at it. Amanda was opening up that portal. Um Eventually Harley ends up in Belle Reve thanks to Katana. Um and like it was a fun time the entire time as it was going through. And zero world building there, but I wanted to keep watching because it was fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned the bar or whatever. That's like a bar or whatever that's in the DC verse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, the bar, the prison,
yeah.
like both of those locations are very, very prominent areas within the DC universe that have been explored numerous times.
Yeah.
I mean, it is in Gotham City, right? So like you are in the city of Bruce Wayne, Batman. You are eventually going to run into a lot of these locations, and they did a really good job of just tying them in for the brief moment that we actually get to see them.
Yeah, I
What about
really enjoyed it too. So
okay?
one thing that I did like though is that this first episode, it had a lot of it had like some dialogue or whatever. It was like mostly like action, I guess you could say. Like Joker and Harley was obviously like trying to get away or whatever from uh I guess escape or whatever. But the funny thing is I'm assuming that this doesn't happen in like the comics or the DC verse or whatever, but Joker was driving a car by playing a piano. That doesn't happen, right? Like this is anime original, right?
From what I'm aware of, this is anime original, and it was quite silly to see it.
Because that shit was peak. Like this is the kind of stuff I love about anime because they can do this and it can make sense. Like Joker being Joker, literally playing a piano to drive a car. So the whole time they're playing Getaway, like he's over here just going crazy on the piano, and like that's all you hear is like the piano, and like I
Yep.
love that. I love that so much. So
It
it's just
was
like nonchalant, you know.
it was a good break, and they did a really good job of playing out that whole scene. It was really well done. But
Yeah.
as far as I know, he's never done that before. So,
I didn't think
um,
so, but I wanted to double check, you know.
yeah, yeah. Obviously though, without necessarily just getting into too much stuff yet, what do you think about the world building?
Um, I think it's pretty good. Like like you said, there wasn't like too much going on in the first episode. We kind of like they just kind of like threw in some like I guess you would call them Easter eggs, I guess, for like the DC fans or whatever, I'm sure that they was really happy to see like the bar and things that made sense to them or whatever. The
Yeah.
world building really comes like later, in the when they get to this new world or whatever, right? Um, I think they do a like really good job at some of the stuff. Like a few things that stand out to me, I'm not sure if you remember this, but when they first get to this world, the locals or whatever, I'm gonna call them locals, the inhabitants, the people of this new world, they're actually speaking their language or whatever, and us as viewers cannot understand them while we're uh looking through the point through Harley Quinn's and the Suicide Squad's perspective, right? We can't
Hmm.
understand them. We don't know what they're saying. They sound like they're talking gibberish. But it's also fun that when we're not looking through their perspective, we can understand them at that point. And
Yeah.
I really love how they did that because, that's something that's not done a lot. Usually the audience can understand what the people are saying even though the characters can't, but I like that they kept us in the dark too when we was looking through uh the Suicide Squad's perspectives and point of views. So
Yeah.
obviously like they use magic on them or whatever to make them able to understand them better later on. So and then we didn't have to worry about that anymore. But still, what'd you think
It
about that?
was it was a nice little touch that they put in that really helped enhance the world. Cause as far as after the first episode, like they basically took everything that was DC and left it back behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now brand new world, Isekai world, um,
It's a guy,
which
yeah. Choice.
Clayface really ensured that we knew that it was an isekai
I feel like that's
because
what his character was. Like he was the what's it called? The third wall or the fourth wall or whatever. Reference. Like I don't know. He just kept on making references and like uh letting us know that this is just like an anime or whatever.
so I mean again, being that they would be normal people,
Yeah.
and he is an actor. I would
Yeah.
imagine that he has probably been approached to do voice acting for animes, and he's, you know, he's watched a few different shows, maybe like Game of Thrones, maybe a couple movies like Lord of the Rings. Um,
I really
but
enjoyed it though. I enjoyed the references that they threw in there, but most of them was
yeah,
by Clayface, and I think it's because what you said. He was a actor or like a theater, a drama
yeah,
person, whatever. What thespian? They call it thespians? I'm not
uh,
sure.
sure, whatever. He was an actor. We'll leave it at that. He was a performing artist,
Yeah.
but outside of that, everything else world building wise has been pretty good.
Yeah.
They could definitely step up the effort a little bit more, I think, and just explain a few different things a little bit better, but without delving too much into the backstory, they're pushing the story forward very, very well that you can continue to follow along.
I ain't gonna lie though, like the them like doing that whole thing with the dialogue, or the language barrier or whatever, like that's more effort than like I want to say like 70%, probably maybe half. I don't know. That's more effort than a lot of these run of the mill isekais put into their world building. You know what I mean? So I really do think that like they done a good job of
Oh yeah.
to trying to world build somewhat, especially early on. So
Yeah, no, like they definitely have an idea of how the world works, right? Like they probably have an entire backstory already written for this. We just don't see it yet because maybe they're just gauging the interest, and if it takes off, hey, maybe we might get a second season where we finally do start delving into those things. But um they definitely have an idea of how the world works, and again, they are propelling it forward. They're propelling it forward in a very clear way where you can see progression in it, and you can feel the difference being made through the storytelling.
I think this also like exceeds my expectations because like I thought it was gonna be really tropey, and I thought that like it was gonna be like a parody, like parody feel to it, making fun of like isekais or whatever, and just like really really tropey and like the with the normal isekai tropes, right? I really
Yeah.
thought that that was going to happen. I really thought that they wouldn't put a lot of effort into the world building, but like I think they proved me wrong. Really really quick.
Oh yeah.
Especially because this world is pretty nice. And we learn about it through the Suicide Squad's point of view or whatever, like their hardships or whatever. Like there's even like times where they have to walk like for half a day just to go take a bath, like stuff like that. It doesn't get brought up in like other worlds or whatever. But in this one, like Harley Quinn's like, I want to take a bath. And she was like, y'all said it was really close. And they literally walked for like half a day or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
like it's just little things like that that add to the world building, and I really enjoyed that they made an effort to include the small details instead of being super tropey and just a parody isekai. So
Yeah, yeah. No, honestly, like as far as this compared to any other isekai, like it stands apart. And I think the biggest thing is because other isekais are exactly that, right? They're just isekais. Not to say that they don't have their own unique story, their own unique delivery, their own unique whatever, but Suicide Squad Isekai has one thing that those don't have:
the
the
characters,
Suicide Squad.
yeah, the characters.
the human element, like that they really ground, I think, the world a lot better because they're not they're not reincarnated as these beings in this world. They're not living out a new world where, minor details don't get touched up on. They're used to being pampered and taken care of at any given whim because if they're not, they just take it.
Yeah.
And, for them to have to walk half a day to get to a spot to take a bath, that is crazy to think about. I mean, imagine, Tyler, you have to walk half a day just to take a fucking shower.
I wouldn't be taking a shower, I guess.
Exactly. So, it's the little things like that though, because it really helps define as well just how defined this world really is. They've taken the little time and effort to be like, hey, there is not an inn anywhere close to here. We're
Yeah, exactly.
walking to get to either a lake, a stream, a bathhouse, and it's medieval times. You're not walking to go to a truck stop and just take a shower there.
Yeah.
You might have to find a specific bathhouse. Who's to say an inn even has one?
Yeah. I don't it's nice to see that them do this though. Cuz like you said, a lot of other isekais, they just like get reincarnated. They're like OP or whatever right off the get go. Like they have their little one trick pony or whatever that they're relying on the whole time. But this is Suicide Squad. This is unique characters. They all got different unique personalities. And the thing is like they're not really OP. Like they're kind of strong in this world. But the thing is we got that little twist with the previous the previous I don't want to call them Suicide Squad
No,
because
that's what they
but they
are. No,
are. They're just the
yeah,
previous Suicide Squads. But it's not the Suicide Squad we know and love or whatever. But they got brought in first and they're like went away from their objective or whatever because they didn't have anything keeping them in check. And so they're out here running wild and taking over the like the enemies like troops or whatever and helping them out. And the current Suicide Squad, they have things to keep them in check. And like they're having to battle these other not only are they having to battle these other like Suicide Squad, the previous ones that came, they're having to battle the world's um monsters and like the enemies and stuff like that too. And like I said, they ain't really super strong. They're not OP. They have to think about how they do things in order to succeed. And I really enjoy that. There is one thing that I didn't uh like. I wish we'd got a little bit more on it other than uh it just is, and that's that they got magic. They basically got magic give to them as when they came over or whatever, right? And it was just because they came over basically. So
well,
I wish that got like fleshed out a little bit more.
they did flesh it out a little bit more because like Harley doesn't have powers.
Yeah, but she's like she can be super strong now or whatever, and in certain moments or whatever, right?
No, she's always been that way.
Well, it's even more so now. She's got like that aura that comes around her and or whatever, and like amplifies her strength or whatever when she's swinging now, right?
I don't think I think that's just like an effect that they're putting in. But like Harley's always been that like super strong, swinging wildly type of a character. Like I'll have to go back and rewatch it, but I'm pretty sure that that's just it. But like
It could be
other people like Clayface, for instance, his ability was a lot better because he was able to
manipulate more.
yeah, he couldn't just manipulate the clay inside of him, he was able to manipulate clay outside of him as well.
Yeah.
Um And then you had like our first major villain, which I'll reveal now, Ratcatcher. Um, it was the dude, right? For those of you who've watched the movie, it was actually the father, the original Ratcatcher. So he actually he is able to communicate with rats, and you don't want to necessarily say control them, but he was able to influence them and train them and stuff like that, right? And they would retain things and they would remember him and stuff like that. And he'd be able to get them to do different tasks that he wanted them to do, like, go pick this lock, and the rat would do it. Um, so then when he came over, his power got amplified to where he was able to start taking over much larger creatures.
I thought
So
that was because of that staff. Like he was able to amplify it because of that staff or that jewel or whatever in the staff.
he was able to utilize that to amplify his power even further over the entire army.
Yeah, because without that, like we get to a point where it gets broken or whatever, and he's not able to control them anymore. Um, so I don't think that was his power fully. I think that he was using uh the world's something like the staff or whatever to create that,
Yeah, yeah, most
bigger
definitely.
field or whatever.
Something about the world though definitely amplifies their abilities greatly, which allows them to do much more supernatural-esque things that, involve those kind of metaphysical abilities.
Yeah.
I'll definitely
Speaking
go
of
back and rewatch though for the Harley Quinn thing, but like Deadshot, he doesn't get any bonuses, right? He's just always highly accurate.
yeah, so with Harley Quinn, like it could be that, but it kind of felt like that she had like a strength boost more. I think that's what they. I feel like that's what they was trying to show with that animation. When she was it feels like she was getting buffed at those moments or whatever. So I could be
I'll
wrong.
rewatch it
Maybe it's just
also.
like a artistic choice or whatever. To let us know that she's like turning strong or whatever. You know. So one thing that I do want to touch up on before we get on out of like how this is different or whatever, comparing it to other isekais,
Yeah.
and that is like I think I think me and probably you, but I've always wondered like what would actually happen if modern guns got brought into a fantasy style world like this one, like in an isekai or whatever. We don't really get to see that very often. I'm not sure if there is too many instances where this actually happens. You got like pistols and you got like rifles and RPGs and shit like that. They got brought in with the Suicide Squad or whatever, both times when they came over in their helicopters. So I want to know, like, is this how we thought it would go for this situation to happen? And did you wonder, like, have you ever wondered what would happen?
So, in the extent that an isekai is going to a different world, and technically this is not my first rodeo with modern guns going to a isekai world.
What's the other one?
Um, Monster Hunter, the
Okay,
movie.
okay,
Um, I wouldn't necessarily classify that one as an isekai though.
yeah,
But I would say that I thought that it was a very odd choice having Deadshot and Peacemaker, honestly, but like I can understand Peacemaker. He has done a lot of things without a gun.
yeah.
um I I really didn't see it going this way, and I figured that they probably would have also handled it a slightly different way too. But it it seems like it's more of a non-issue than it should be. If that if that makes sense. Like they are surprisingly cool about the guns for some reason, I feel. Or like it just hasn't been a big pressing matter that has been addressed.
Yeah, I feel like the because we seen them use it to like wipe out the horde or whatever to save the general's life or whatever, right? And I feel like that if I was a uh, like in that like a original local whatever to that world, I feel like I would be very scared and like curious as to what these things are, you know. But
Yeah.
maybe they was when the first Suicide Squad group came, you know, and maybe they kind of got used to it. That's the only thing that I can give them there, you know. I can give them a little bit of space there because we don't really know what happened back then. So
No, and that's fair. That's definitely a good point to keep in mind because yeah, it is not their first time. They're dealing with a brand new army that's been revitalized with all these new troops and new technology and stuff like that. So,
I
um, but
I'll
you know, I do want to say I think that they actually were investigating their equipment at first, and then there was like the giant prison situation that they went through, which I think then kind of changed it, and they were like, "All right, whatever, you can just keep your stuff. We don't want it anyways."
we don't know how to use it. But I feel like they kind of grounded it though because they did make it clear that like ammo was an issue, you know. Like they made it very clear that ammo was an issue.
Yeah,
Like mo like usually in like these situations, I feel like a an anime or even a show or whatever, they would just have unlimited supply of ammo. Like their guns just wouldn't run out of ammo and that wouldn't be an issue. But I like that they actually made that an issue here. That way they can't just rely on guns the whole time. They basically ran out of ammo. And then it was like, well, the second, you know, the previous like drop or whatever, like if we get there, we can get some more guns or whatever. We can get some more ammo and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I really enjoyed that they added that aspect to the gun situation in this world. So
yeah.
uh
No, it was pretty good. Honestly, like as far as isekais go, this is it's really not your standard isekai. Like I figured that it would be a lot different than this. I didn't think that it would be as fun as it is. Um, so I'm really glad to see that. Like first and foremost, the fact that WB Japan is also involved really gives me great confidence because they're able to stick truer to the characters with their involvement, and I think it's really helping the story just stay at a level that we can all comprehend much easier.
yeah. It still feels like we know these people, like we mentioned before. They're just still the same base. It's just like they're a little bit modified for the isekai world or whatever. So I appreciate that they do that as well. So um I guess if you don't have anything else to say about like the any of that stuff, like the how they compare to other isekais, we can move on to like the sub dub thing. Um,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that you said you watched like maybe an episode dubbed and then the rest of them subbed. Is that correct?
yeah. So I I started watching it on Hulu. Right, the first episode it was the subbed version. So I started with that, Nothing wrong with it, right? Like
Hmm.
good voice acting. I'll give it to all the voice actors. I then watched it dubbed for the second one, as that's what Hulu put out. And then the next 3 episodes it went back to subbed. So I got a chance to hear both of them, and
So which one did you like better? Like, is there anything that you didn't like about one of them, or like,
no, honestly, I like both of them. I think that ultimately they found people that really understood anime for the subs,
okay,
because obviously that's going to be big, right? Like they want to make sure that they get voice actors that understand their roles and can deliver on those. But I feel like WB Japan maybe had some influence in this one, right? Maybe they were able to get more reputable voice actors that have done the animated series to maybe step in. I don't know like a lot of the voice actors and what they've done, but they delivered just as good as any other DC quality product that has come out. Which is big because, as far as I understand, like this is not just WB. Like Wit's name is attached on it as well, and typically those other animated series, to my knowledge, it's not like that. So
yeah. Um, for me, I did watch a little bit of an episode subbed just to see kind of how it felt or whatever. I thought
yeah,
it done pretty good. I didn't have really any complaints about it, but in my opinion, like, it was hard for me to watch the subbed because it just didn't feel right. You know, like I'm used to hearing like Harley Quinn, say pudding and like, stuff like that, like in English, right? So I'm really glad the dubbed was actually really good. Um,
yeah,
like there was no complaints from me for the dubbed, and like I said, it made me like this anime even more because I actually got to like think that I was actually watching these characters that I do know, I get it's just hard for me to watch like uh Harley Quinn in a Japanese voice, because it doesn't sound right, right? Like it
yeah.
would be
That's not
like,
Harley Quinn.
yeah, it would be like watching Pokemon in Japanese. Like it just wouldn't be right, because I always grew up with Ash in English, so it just wouldn't be right. I think that's the same way. I think a lot of people probably feel the same way as me on that. Probably, especially since this is a Western, like a popular Western, you know, uh,
IP.
yeah. So, like, I feel like dubbed would be more popular choice for a lot of people. So I'm really glad that they're like dubbing it pretty fast. I don't think it's simul dubbed, but I think it's really fast dubbed. I think that they get it out within a few days after the sub each time. So, uh,
Yeah, they seem to be pretty on top of it as far as dubbing it goes.
yeah. While we're talking about like the actual like voice actors and like the sound and stuff like that, I wanna talk about the OP and ED and maybe the OST if we have anything to say about that real quick, and then we'll move on to like the animation side of things.
Yeah.
So, um, how did you enjoy the OP?
I liked it. The first thing that caught my attention was this is very DC.
Yeah, it definitely
The
is.
opening theme was just a literal remix of a DC theme. I'm pretty sure it's a Suicide Squad theme, but it was very nice. It was very catchy, very jazzy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
There
but
was literally no vocals at all. It was just straight music and like the actual like animation, the visuals or whatever was really nice too. Like I actually like the visuals in the OP like almost better than I have like the. I think they like spent money on the making them look good. So
yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, just fantastic job as far as the OP goes. Um, really big fan of it. It's not something that I'm gonna listen to every single time, but I will say that if I put it on and I forget to skip the intro,
It's okay.
I ain't gonna be hurting.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the same way with me. I think it is pretty good. I really like the jazz style stuff, especially when it's so like so it's got like a lot of range or whatever, kind of like this OP does. That's one
Mhm.
of the reasons why I like Cowboy Bebop. You know, their like OST and OPs and stuff because it was like very jazzy. You know, and that's why I kind of like this too. Um, as far as like the ED though, uh, I think this might be one of my favorite EDs of the season. Like it's just a bop in my opinion. And not only is it like a bop, um, it's got these visuals on it. Like it's one of the more fun like videos that I've watched as far as EDs go, especially on this season. Like it's really fun. You always hope that you see an ED and they like do unique fun things with the EDs or whatever. Kind of like Jujutsu Kaisen, for example. Jujutsu Kaisen, the Lost in Paradise ED. Like that's one of my favorites of all time. You know, they got the unique art style. They got them come through the door, you know, like dancing with the funny art style or whatever. Like that those are the kind of EDs that I really enjoy. It's got the catchy tunes. It's got the unique art style. They actually do something unique and it just makes you smile and laugh at it. And they literally did this with Suicide Squad's ED. It was just unique and it was a bop. So I really enjoyed it.
They they didn't do a bad job with the song. I cannot fucking stand the ED. Um, that is not Amanda Waller. All right, that is not how Amanda Waller carries herself. Amanda Waller, the Amanda Waller I know would literally shoot the fucking producer over that. Okay, she would
How,
shoot the fucking producer. She would blow up the building. She would dismantle the actual animation studio. She would find the guy who actually wrote the song and decided to animate everything, and then she would lock both of them up in a prison
see,
with no sunlight.
I'm not disagreeing with you. You know, I don't see Amanda Waller doing this, but but maybe she's got that, you know, that party side, you know, that
No.
nobody gets to see, Nom, you know, like this is the side that like maybe if she had a boyfriend or a husband or whatever, right? Like he would get to see this side maybe, right? But she probably doesn't have one of those. She's married to the job.
She is way too married to the job. No, I mean, if you take Amanda Waller out of it,
I think she's the funnest part of it. Like
I,
just seeing
can't.
her act like that, it makes it so funny and so
Uh,
fun.
it makes me want to not watch it ever. I
Like
can't.
they like you know people will know like how Mashal the Bling Blom or whatever Mashal OP from
Bing
season
bong
2.
bong bomb.
Yeah,
Bing
well,
bong
where
bong
he's
bomb.
got like where he's like doing the like simple dances or whatever, and then it's got like a kaleidoscope effect where it just like multiplies across the screen and stuff. You know, that's basically what Amanda Waller does. Like it just multiplies, and she's just doing like
See,
the same stuff. I really wish that they would make like a Mashal, like the Mashal dance or whatever with Amanda Waller because it's really close. I would love that.
see, but that's the thing, right? Like Mashal does it. I'm expecting that. Amanda Waller does that. Who the fuck are you?
She's here to party, baby. This is a new world, Knob.
No.
She don't have to worry about what people think about her in this isekai because it's an isekai in capital letters, Nom.
Oh man, if only we knew if it was an isekai or not. How are we gonna know if it's an isekai? Can someone tell us if this is an isekai?
But but the ED though, outside the like fun like dance moves or whatever that was not expected at all, and like the bop, like it definitely is a bop. Outside of all that, like it's very like colorful. Like there's a lot of colors. Like it's a lot of neon colors and stuff. So
Yeah,
it makes you want to just watch it. I don't know. So like I said, it's probably my favorite ED of this season. Like it's just really fun. It's what I expect out of an ED. Um, I expect EDs to be really fun and unique and got like a crazy thing going on for it. And this is what this is. So uh
honestly, I'd have rather had Peacemaker be the person that it's in Amanda Waller's spot,
yeah, I mean
because
I don't
that
care.
would have made a
It's
lot
been
more
fun
sense,
too. Yeah.
at least with the John Cena version of it. But
You know, speaking of that, like, wouldn't it have been super cool if they could have got like the actual like movie, like John Cena and all the people who played in the movie to be the English voice cast, for the
Margot
Suicide Squad?
Robbie, Will
Yeah,
Smith,
that would be so
uh,
fun, would it not?
at least even just for one episode, right? Like
Yeah,
just the final episode. Give us the
a
big name.
cameo or
Yeah.
something. But
Maybe make them cross over into another isekai world that's just the real world, and it's just all of them together
yeah,
sitting around at a table, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
I mean, it would make sense because this is an isekai, so
Yeah.
you know. Uh, I want to ask though before we move on from like this portion of it into the animation part. Did like the OST stand out any to you? Because I really enjoyed it. Like it definitely felt like Suicide Squad vibes. You still had like the piano, you still had like the jazz kind of things going on in the background. So it was really fun for the most part. So
Yeah, no, it was definitely Suicide Squad. I don't want to say it really stuck out, right? Like it's not super memorable, but it was nothing that deterred away from it. Like it did help with the story.
yeah.
It was very fitting for it, I'll say.
The most memorable thing for me was the piano in the first episode, but that was just so crazy. That was so like out of line, right? Wacky.
Yeah, no, I mean stuff like that obviously you're going to remember, but no, as far as the rest of like the actual soundtrack, like it was a good soundtrack. It's just it's not anything memorable, right? You're not going to be writing home about it. You're not going to sit
Yeah.
there and say, "Oh, let me look up this soundtrack," right? I have games where I do that. I have animes where I do that. This is not one of them.
Yeah, I did that to Freerun. That's the latest one that I did it to. Freerun was had a nice soundtrack, so um
I will at least about once a year I'll go through every single One Piece opening song.
I mean, you know,
Every
you can't go
single
wrong with
one
that,
of them.
Nom. So uh
Number 2
so
is still the best.
getting away from the soundtracks and OPs and EDs and all that stuff,
Yep.
we're gonna talk a little bit about the animation. The animation was done by Wit Studio, and I'm pretty sure that Warner Brothers Japan had a part in it. I just don't know how big of a part they played in it, but they did have a somewhat of a part in it. They helped. So we're gonna talk about animation here for a minute. And then basically we're gonna move into like the closing segment of this first look. So we're almost done here. Um, so animation, how did they do? Like how did Wit Studio stand up in this one, stand out in this one? And like, did you like everything that you see? Did you have any complaints? Like any of that stuff?
Um so I will say that it wasn't a super clean look, right? Like there isn't this crispiness that we're used to seeing with a lot of these other big name budget animes, I guess we'll say. Like it's not Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, right? It's
Yeah.
not One Piece Egghead. It's not My Deer Friend Nokotan, right? Like it does have that rough, gritty look to it. Um, but I think that's just allowed them to just have a little bit more freedom and fun with the rest of the animation, because I think that the fights, right? Um, I think the fights are really good. Like they're very fast paced, animated, right? Very hazy, but I think it's trying to help amplify how much action is really going on without them having to do too much on all the action and just focus on the main things, right?
Yeah.
Like taking into account Harley's fight scenes and stuff like that, and seeing her like wind up and swing around and stuff like that, or even just fighting Katana even in episode 1, where they're going back and forth, and then like Harley rips that pole off the wall and starts like using it as a bat and defending against Katana. Like a lot of it is just it's good, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing to take super serious, but
Yeah. So like like coming in, like obviously we knew it was Wit Studio, right? And we know Wit Studio, like you said, they do My Dear Friend Nokotan. They've done Attack on Titan. You know, they've done like several, you know, shows. They're gonna do the One Piece remake, even. Um, I think that they've done a really good job here. For 80% of the time, like the animation was really like good. Like you had like a lot of like hand to hand fight scenes and stuff like that. They didn't really like do the traditional like off screen combat, you know. They actually showed the combat, which was really fun. That's one of the things like Suicide Squad does. Like they you know do hand to hand combat stuff, you know. So I really think that I really enjoyed like the animation overall. There was like some few minor complaints where like I noticed like every once in a while they will just like go low quality. Not really like it doesn't look low quality. It just looks like low FPS. Like it looks like shit's going in slow motion sometimes. And it really usually things like that doesn't really stand out to me, but it did in this because it did because like the fact that like all the rest of the time it was like really good. It was really smooth. You know, I had no complaints, and then all of a sudden, like snap of finger, it's like in slow motion. It's kind of jittery or whatever, and it's like low FPS feeling. And I'm just like, where did this come from? Like this needs to be like in the same. It needs to feel like what I just watched 5 minutes ago, and I just don't really know why they would like have moments like that. You know what I mean? And, like it didn't really take nothing away from it in the end. It's just it makes me worry about the later half, you know, because
the
I
longevity of
wonder
it.
like how many more times we're gonna get this. Are they gonna start falling apart? Like are they running out of budget? Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know why they're doing it. So
Yeah, and I mean the budget thing is a valid concern too, because I mean you're dealing with a more established studio, right? Like you're dealing with their IP. The intellectual property does belong to Warner Bros. And at the end of the day, Warner Bros. Does have, they give you a budget. So if you're not funding extra, if you're not careful, you could run out, and that may be some of the sacrifices that are being made.
yeah, and I kind of wonder like that also makes me wonder like what parts does Warner Brother Japan what parts are they helping with? Like is these moments because there's like a difference in studios? Like is Wit Studios doing the things that look good, and then Warner Brothers come in and do and help out and do some of these other things, and maybe that's why it doesn't look so like look the same or whatever or feel the same. Maybe it's because it's being worked on by both of them or whatever, right? Like I just don't
Yeah.
know. But it could be a possibility. Uh, there's also a art style like in the prison scene, right? When we get introduced like to the rat catcher, like his backstory or whatever. Um, so you got like the best way to describe it is like it's got that fuzzy style animation, kind of like they did on like Gear 5 on Gear 5 Luffy and stuff like that. Some of the One Piece scenes that Toei did. Um like it kind of reminds me of that. It's just got like the real fuzzy uh free flowing animation style or whatever. Did you enjoy that? Like I honestly did. I just it caught me off guard because we had the same animation style, and then they were just like, okay, during this flashback, we're gonna be like this style. I'm like, damn, that's different, you know?
Yeah, no, it was kind of a jarring twist, honestly, to see, and it doesn't really detract from it. I don't think it necessarily added anything, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing if you're trying to like show a grittiness, but like be consistent with what you're trying to do, I guess, ultimately, because if you're gonna switch it up again in a little bit, it's just gonna throw people off. It's gonna be confusing. You know, changing studios between seasons is one thing. Changing studios between scenes,
Changing
like,
styles and shit, you know?
yeah, you gotta really look out for more than just like the initial part, because otherwise you guys are gonna really lose the vision and stuff like that. And I think that in turn will hurt the anime. um, but I will say that like I also didn't really notice it on my
Okay.
first watch through. Like it was a very minor thing too that they didn't really feature too prominently, to my knowledge.
I gotcha. Um Speaking of like consistency, there's this one thing that bugged me. And it was I forget when it was. I think it was like later on when they was Harley Quinn got that big like cooking pot or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? And she was
Yep.
using it as like a shield or whatever, you know. She put it on her back. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
So if you I don't know if you noticed this or not, but consistency is key here, and they was not consistent. Like during that whole segment of situations or whatever, Harley Quinn was supposed to have this big skillet on her back. She was kind of supposed to look like Senshi, I guess. You know, Senshi always had the from Dungeon Meshi, he always carried the skillet, the big pot on his back or whatever. Kind of looked like a Ninja Turtle. Like that's kind of what Harley Quinn looked like, kinda. She had this big pot on her back. And like I swear to you, Nom, 70% of the time when they animated her during this segment, she didn't have the pod on her back, but 30% of the time she did. They picked and choose when to put the pod on her back during all these things. And that kind of, I don't know why, but it bugged me, you know, because they wasn't being consistent. And I feel like that's one of the things they should have been consistent with because the pot was a big deal, like in those scenes. Like that was her weapon, right?
Yeah.
And
Whoever's got the frying pan in a zombie movie ends up
yeah.
killing all the zombies, and it's the strongest weapon in the world because it can kill zombies.
And
So
she
she
literally
needed to
didn't
have
have it
it.
half the time, but then the other half they animated it on her back. But you know, I like I said, it bothered me. I don't know if you caught that, but it bugged me. So
I I did not, but I am going to be on the lookout for it now, because that is
you should,
something that is key to be aware of. I mean,
yeah,
again,
you should go back
consistency
and
is
watch
going to,
that. So
yeah, no, the consistency is going to be a big driving force going forward, though. They have to really know and understand what scenes are going where and make sure that they do include all these elements, because otherwise, like, the show is fun, but it could also detract very quickly.
yeah, like that's all I want. Like I just want them to be consistent. Them not being consistent leads to like like problems down the road more than likely, you know what I mean? Where
Mm-hmm.
things start not making sense. And, even though we're in the isekai, obviously, things need to make sense still, even though for most isekais, they don't make sense. But I expect, you know, Suicide Squad to make sense. So,
Yeah, this
um,
is not just an isekai. This is Suicide Squad Isekai.
yeah. And, like, so moving on to the next thing, I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on this though. We're gonna talk about characters, but I'm not really gonna I was gonna do like favorite characters, but we already everybody already knows Suicide Squad. They know DC characters, whatever. Like everybody's gonna know that their favorite character is probably Harley Quinn, right? Um, I
Yeah.
mean that's mine, obviously, but like I what I want to ask about this one, just like a brief second, is is there any? I know we done touched on this a little bit earlier, but is there any characters that aren't Suicide Squad, um, that kind of stand out to you, or does any of the Suicide Squad characters are they different than what you thought that they would be? And I think we already answered that. I think we kind of already said that they're pretty base Suicide Squad, just with a small modifications or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, really, the only one that I know of that had a modification was Clayface. Honestly,
yeah,
everyone else has been
spot
pretty much
on.
their character.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's,
there was a few other characters though in the world that did kind of stand out. I mean, really, there's like two of them that stood
yeah.
out, but
But I think there's only
um,
three major character, or I say major, but three characters that are important that is not like Suicide Squad or
three Isekai world
DC.
characters.
Yeah. So, and that's the queen, the princess, and the head knight or whatever. So, like,
Yep.
so that's why I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time on this. I do, I do like the princess. I don't know what she's got going on with Harley Quinn, but I'm kind of interested to see what's the deal there because she's got some kind of um fascination, I guess, with her or something. I'm interested.
Yeah, no. The princess honestly is the most intriguing character I think out of the bunch. The queen,
It's
she's a
like
bitch.
she's like I was supposed to say she's like Amanda Waller, just in the Isekai version. She
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
Amanda Waller. I don't know.
Um, but then you have like Cecil, who he's pretty straightforward, right? He's a knight. You're not getting much more out of him, but I feel like Fiona has a lot to offer in this story, so it's going to be exciting to see what happens moving forward with her character.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that too, because I want to, like I said, I just want to see what she's gonna, bring to the table, especially with her fascination with Harley Quinn and stuff. So, um, is
Yeah.
there, uh, is there anything that you want to see this Isekai do in the last half of the season? I know we're talking about the first 5 episodes now, but there's 5 more episodes to go. So, is there anything you want to see in particular?
Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, they're off to a great start, I feel. It's just making sure that whatever it is that they do decide to do, that they hopefully think it through very carefully and that they've put in the effort to properly animate it.
What do you think their goal is in this world, though? Because we haven't they haven't really said a whole lot, right? I think they've mentioned bits and pieces of what they want to do, but what do you think they Amanda wants to do here in this world?
Uh, I feel like she wants to take it over.
Yeah. Um, didn't they say something about resources? Are they
Yeah.
resource hunting?
Yep.
So
Which makes me think that she wants to take it over so that way she can put like a monopoly on that and then she can use that to further influence her own agenda and goals,
okay,
right?
and yeah, and it seems like the queen or whatever, is kind of allies with Amanda Waller and them, right? It seems like they got something, a partnership or something too. So I'm curious to see. I really hope that they dive into that a little bit more and explain like how that came about, um, because those things just don't happen. Like a portal doesn't open up these people is just like, oh, you're here. Please be our friend. Obviously, like the locals are gonna be like wary of new the new people coming from portals, right?
Highly,
So
highly. And they even showed it, right? Like the queen didn't want to let them out. She had them locked up first thing. She
yeah,
knew that they were from this other world and she knew what the other worlders did. She didn't want to deal with it, and I don't blame her, but at the same time, they definitely did a really good job too because when they finally met Rick Flag, who led the original Suicide Squad in, he was able to actually talk to the Queen and, kind of smooth it over and like, hey, we understand who they are. We can stop them, and that I really felt helped propel it. So it's just a matter too of like, who else are we gonna meet? I technically have watched episode 6.
yeah, I didn't, but
Um
it's okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, they only introduced 2 new characters in that episode, and who else are we gonna get to see, though, throughout the rest of the season? And, what's gonna go on with some of the other stuff, like, the queen, what's going on with the princess?
Yeah, what kind of like relationship do uh that kingdom and like Argus have or whatever? Like those are some of the things that I want to see like fleshed out a little bit more. And I just don't know if we're gonna be able to with only 5 more episodes to go. So
Yeah.
um well, to wrap this up pretty much, like I want to know who who do you think would enjoy this show? Uh Like, if you had to guess, like, other than, like, isekai fans, the isekai fans, um, they like any kind of isekai, even if it's trash or not, and I feel like this is a pretty decent isekai, especially when
Yeah.
you introduce, like, the Suicide Squad DC
Yeah.
characters into this world, it gets really fun. So, like, who else would you recommend this to? Would you recommend it to, like, DC fans that don't watch anime? Like,
Most
you think that they would
definitely.
enjoy it?
Most definitely. I think that realistically, when they were designing the premise of it, I think that they had those fans specifically in mind. People that have watched the Suicide Squad movies, people that read the comics. I think that all of those people would really enjoy this.
Okay.
It's worth a watch, honestly. Like again, all the small little details and stuff like that, the little tie-ins and whatnot. They're very, very nice. They're very subtle. The characters I feel are pretty on point.
Yeah, so I felt like but like I said, I'm a casual, like, fan of, like, DC, Marvel type things. So, I felt like that they done a good enough job for, like, the DC fans or even Marvel fans or whatever, right, to enjoy this kinda anime. Uh, I feel like that probably if you like the Spider-Man animation or whatever, right? I feel like you would probably enjoy this too, especially since the
Yeah.
dubbed is pretty decent. Um, but I also do know that you're a bigger fan of this, so I was kind of wondering if you thought that it would hold up for like the DC non-anime fans, or if they would be kind of just pissed off at it type thing. And you think that they would like it though.
Well, again, it's very, very touchy subject because you're gonna find a lot of them that would be like, "Oh yeah, it's fantastic, it's great, I love it." you're gonna find a lot of them that are gonna be like, "Oh, it's fucking stupid. It's ruined it. How could they do that to my character? That's not DC. That's not Suicide Squad." And we're not trying to hear all that, honestly. So I would say though
For
that
the majority.
if you do
Yeah.
like DC, it is worth a watch.
Yeah.
Give it a few episodes, see how you like it. There's gonna be things that they do that you're not gonna like, even live action or other animated or even comic book wise.
And honestly, like the fact that they are like the fact that they have like Clayface kind of doing the whole explanation about isekais and stuff like that is actually going to help people that don't really understand what isekai is, right?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
that
no,
his character is going to help them figure out like what this new world and what this concept is too. So
yeah, and again, like all the real world references that they make. Game of Thrones, they make a specific reference to the show Game of Thrones.
yeah,
There was a specific reference to Lord of the Rings, and I'm pretty sure it was a character call out. If any of you guys remember, please let us know in the comments or on Discord, so that
yeah,
way we can remember as well.
nice
Um,
plug.
hey, I'm serious though, because I can't remember, but I do know that they make those references, and they're nice little touches that again remind you that these guys, all these characters, they're still human from Earth, the same Earth that you're from. You
Yeah,
know?
and not only did they make Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings references, I'm pretty sure they made a Tom and Jerry reference, and I'm pretty sure they made a Macho Man Randy Savage reference as well.
They definitely do a
So
Macho Man Randy Savage one. I remember that one.
I think they
Um
made the Tom and Jerry reference. They they said something about Jerry. I'm pretty sure they was like he's an asshole or something like that. I'm not sure. Uh, but it was really funny. Um, but
doesn't
yeah,
surprise me.
yeah. So like that's pretty much all I got for this. So I guess to wrap this up, uh, you know, what are our way too early ratings? Because we've only seen 5 episodes, so we're at the mid-season point basically. So
Yeah,
what would you rate this as of right now? From what you've seen so far.
I give it a 7.
Okay.
Um I feel like it is still a pretty solid show, right? It's got a lot of strengths that it can lean on. A lot of things that it has going for it that'll really help carry the show forward. Um, it's going to be one of those things where are they going to get too caught up in the actual animation and not follow the actual story, or are they going to be able to actually drive the point home that they're trying to do and get this story told in a cohesive manner that is also consistent with the previous story elements.
Yeah. And I think I would put it somewhere around a 7 too. Um, I think that it has potential to be like an 8, but I don't really think it can be much higher than that in my opinion. Um, but just like what you said, I'm kind of worried about consistency and like the animation. Like I'm hoping that they can like finish it strong and not like have these moments keep on popping up or even get even more than it already happened or whatever, right? Um those are very worrisome things that I'm worried about. So uh also I'm kind of interested too because I forgot to mention that at the end of episode 5, Harley Quinn just gets a baby dragon. So I'm kind of interested in that and how that goes too. Because Harley Quinn with a dragon, like what? How else could she get even more wilder? And that's if she's flying on a dragon, right? So if she is
Honestly,
literally flying on a dragon and they make Game of Thrones references because she's the one that made the Game of Thrones reference And
You already
if
know that they're going to. She's gonna be like, I'm Daenerys.
bro, if they do that, if she is flying on top of a dragon and acting like Daenerys, then I'm giving it an 8, maybe a 9, hands down. So,
Depending on the delivery, I haven't watched Game of Thrones. I've tried. I never got into it, and I know everyone's like, "Oh, you should watch it. You seem like you'd be really into it." Honestly, like I've tried giving it a shot.
the first
I know what
season is
happens.
I watched the first season 3 different times, or I started the first season 3 different times before I kept going or whatever. And so I understand what you're saying. So
Yeah, yeah. I still have to do that with Attack on Titan. Actually, do it for the third time and then just push through.
you haven't seen Attack on Titan either?
I've watched the first 2 episodes twice. And after the second episode, I'm just like,
Hmm.
man, I really don't care.
Almost would say don't bother, but then again, it is okay, but the ending wasn't the best. You know what I mean? So I mean, it is what it is. I still think that you should probably check it out sometime or another because it is one of those top anime or whatever that everybody talks about. So, um,
Oh yeah. Yeah, no,
but
I'm gonna
yeah,
watch it eventually.
at least you didn't have to sit through and wait like we did. You know what I mean? Like for all the parts, the finales or whatever. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, just having to wait 20 years to find out what the fucking One Piece is and still waiting. Definitely don't know what you're feeling like.
soon, my friend, soon. Um,
This dude could mean like 15 years from Oda.
that is true. Uh, but the way this sounds, it sounds like this passed for us. I think we would both recommend it. Wouldn't you say, Nom?
I would definitely give it a recommend. Honestly, it's
Okay.
hard to not recommend. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Like it's worth a watch. Like regardless of if you like isekais. If you liked Suicide Squad, it is worth a watch. If you are a DC comic fan, it is worth a watch. If you like isekais, because this is Suicide Squad Isekai, and Clayface will remind you that it is an Isekai, and he will explain to you what an Isekai is, because this is Suicide Isekai. So you need to know what an Isekai is to understand Suicide Isekai. Um, but it's definitely worth a watch. I can't wait to talk about it. Actually, like getting into more of the nitty gritties of each particular episode, I feel is going to be really fun. Um, you know, I think we're going to be skipping ahead to just episode 7
Yeah, probably. Whatever episode
because
is coming out this this last half of the week. I think it drops like on uh Thursday or Friday,
Thursday.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thursdays. So
So
yeah, we'll be skipping an entire episode to catch you guys up on that one a little bit. I guess we can just briefly touch up on it.
yeah, maybe if anything like happens notable or whatever, we can just
There
add that to the rundown next week. So
Yeah, there's
um
a couple notable things, so we'll
yeah.
we'll just quickly touch up on it. But I'm excited because they're gonna definitely be touching up on more of that stuff in episode 7. So yeah, I guess we'll just do a double episode recap on that one and then
Yeah.
finish off the rest of
Sorta.
it.
Yeah, so with that being said, like Nam said, this will be on the rundown next week. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have obviously Suicide Squad Isekai. Uh we'll have Tower Gods season 2 like we have been doing, My Deer Friend Nokotan like we've been doing, and then One Piece like we always do. We always have One Piece. So make sure you check that out, and with all that being said, that ends the Suicide Squad first look. Um, you know, and it'll be on the rundown like we said. And that's all for this episode. So thanks for listening. As always, make sure you go rate us on your podcast platforms as well. make sure you like and subscribe to YouTube video if you're watching on the YouTube side. Check out the polls, and there's a new comment section on Spotify as well, the mobile side of things. So make sure you leave some comments, but linktree.com/anime Degens, join our Discord for our watch parties and just talk, anime with us. And we will see you on Tuesday for the rundown. Peace.
Later.
振り払って街を歩く薄い夜影雨の中で立ち尽くし